And I'm going to go ahead and log in here to show you how I got to this point. So in LEAP Bridge Concrete, when it's delivered by default, I believe integration with ProjectWise is probably turned off. But to turn it on, it's pretty straightforward. You simply go up here to Options, Preferences, and there's a toggle right there to enable ProjectWise login on startup. And so you would just simply turn that on and click OK, and you would need to then get out of the software and come back in. And when you come back in, you'll see that little login screen that I saw a moment ago. It's probably familiar to those of you that have used ProjectWise before. So you go ahead and select a data source and log in. And for me, it takes a little while. I'm going to try not to go through that again, or get out and come back in, because we have so many data sources at Bentley that I'm connected to, and I'm working remotely, so it takes a little while for it to find all of them. So just in the interest of time, I had already opened this up and was kind of sitting at that screen. But like I said, suffice it to say, if you go to the preferences here and turn this on, it'll be on from there forward. And primarily what that's going to do for you is anytime you come to either file open or you do a file save or anything up here, it's first going to present you with a ProjectWise file open dialog, kind of like I see here, and then if you cancel out, you get your standard Windows dialog, and you can select to open a file from your local device there. So again, file open. I'm just going to simply let me select some file and open it up. And what it'll do is go ahead and check that file out as well. So if I take a look at the folder that file is in, and I'll drag my ProjectWise folder over here. So here's the file I just grabbed. And you'll notice it has a little red check mark here showing that it has in fact been checked out. So it's going to go ahead and load up that file for me, or download it to my local computer here, to my little ProjectWise folder, and then from there go ahead and open it up here within LEAP Bridge Concrete. Now once it does that, and I'm not sure why it's taking quite so long here, let me close out of a couple of these things real quick. Also, I want to mention that this does work with the LEAP Bridge Concrete library file as well. So for those of you that have multiple users in an organization and you want to be able to share the LEAP Bridge Concrete library file with the rest of your users, that can be placed up in ProjectWise, and in the preferences there you can point ProjectWise to that location and work from there. Oh, I know what it's done. It's waiting for a Bentley Connect was trying to grab a hold of that process there as well, and that's what it was waiting on. It didn't actually take that long to load the graphics for this little bridge. I just didn't see it pop up on my other screen there. So anyway, so again, it loads that file, and it's going to be pretty much instantaneous. Most of these LEAP Bridge Concrete files are relatively small, so loading them or saving them back should be a very quick process. And this will work the same if you create a new file as well. So if I come in here and say, okay, I want to create a new file, come in here and just create a new bridge, and I'll just take the defaults here and kind of go next, next, next through there, and let the ABC Wizard create a new bridge for me. Again, I can come up here and say I want to save or do a save as on this. And again, the first window we'll see is a ProjectWise window for saving that. So it's going to let me go out there and select a folder. So I'm going to come down here to Bridge, LEAP Bridge Concrete, and I created a folder just for this SIG. And then I can give this file a name. click Save, and that file is then saved back to the ProjectWise server. So if we take a look at here, you'll notice it checked in the test1 file that I had checked out a moment ago, and I now have the SIG1 file checked out to myself. Okay, so pretty straightforward. And then from there, everything else is the same, really. So if you're going to go do some superstructure analysis and design, you'll go to that tab, select superstructure, go ahead and do whatever it is you need to do while you're in here. Let me make some minor changes here real quick, and we'll pick maybe a 1/2 inch Lilac strands. Don't worry about any loads. And let's see if we can do a strand pattern on this. Either do it by hand or maybe even auto design one. So not going to work with that size of a beam, but that's fine. I mean, at this point, we can go to the geometry window and pick a different beam, or I could go all the way back to the wizard and rerun it, do whatever I want to do. But regardless, once you've made any changes here, you can always go back and update the model there. So maybe I come in here and say, well, let's try this with, let's do, you see we've added a lot of beams here as well to the library that you could potentially use nowadays. A lot of beams in there for PennDOT have been added, and a few other agencies as well here over the last 2 or 3 releases. So there's some new beam shapes in there. So if I wanted, again, I could, I know I've made some significant changes here. I could come in and say that I changed beam types, and that comment would get saved with the file here when that gets pushed back up to ProjectWise and updated. So now it has the current time on here for updating. There we go. So there's the current update on that file, and again still shows that I have it checked out at the moment. Now I did mention libraries as well, and this is going to keep a local copy as well, so it's always pretty much going to have a local copy sitting there unless you do a true check-in, but otherwise you can update the server copy so things are getting backed up and updated every night, but you can also have your local copy for performance purposes and work as you always have. Now also under preferences here, like I said, I do want to mention the LEAP Bridge Concrete library file here, you'll notice can point to a ProjectWise location, which is really nice. So that way, and now, and this has been true for a couple versions now, everything in LEAP Bridge Concrete is now in a single library file. Back in the day, we used to have about a dozen or so different library files. And for those of you that start using the new version, you may have run across the fact that there is that new library file out there, and any changes, anything that you had in your old library, you might be missing out on. If you'd added some beam sections for the agency that you're doing work for, that you may be missing some of those things. So there is a tool here, and it's up here under Tools, Read Libraries, and this is where you can go pick any of those old library files that you may have modified in previous versions of either the standalone products like ConSpan, ConBox, or RC Pure, or whether you've done it through an older version of LEAP Bridge Concrete. We can still import those files in. So you can go out there and grab, for example, your CS1 file, which is what this would do right here, is to let me go out and grab a previous CS1 file and import sections from that, and any new sections would get appended to or added to my beam section library. And the same thing here with your live load libraries for either the super or substructure, load groups that you may be potentially created there for RC Pure, those sorts of things. They could all be imported in and merged into that one LBC lib file. So again, that's back here under Preferences. But like I said, this can be pointing to a local drive. This could be a shared folder there that you share with, that all your colleagues have access to on a local basis. Or this could potentially be in, like I said, in a ProjectWise folder. And so right now, that's what I'm using, is the one that's there in ProjectWise. And that's what it's giving me access to right now. So if I go into, let's say, the superstructure module here, and I'm looking around, if I go to beam section and I click on that, it's going to show me all the beam sections that are in that LBC lib file. Now if I want to modify or change or make a copy of any of these in here, I can do that here. And when I save it, what the software is going to do is, behind the scenes, it'll go ahead and check out that file. It'll let me save it and make those changes and basically push those back up to the server. And then when I close out of here, it puts the file back up on the server and checks it back in, so that if somebody else needs to make changes to it at that time, they can. So let me show that to you real quick. We'll just pick one of the beams here, and I'll make a copy of it. And for the ID, we'll call it ASHTO1 copy. I'll pick OK. And if we go back and look in the list, we can see now that I have two different ones in here. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. It asks me what kind of change did I make. Well, I made a copy of the Type 1 girder out there. And you don't have to enter a comment unless your system requires it. So it lets me know that it's been saved. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. And I'll go ahead and close the precast module here as well. And then if I go back in here, I can see that, let me update this, that there's this default LBC lib file still here and has been updated. So anyway, the only other two files at this time that are tied to ProjectWise are your seed files. You can select those locally, or you can select those from ProjectWise. And again, the default's going to be, if you have ProjectWise enabled, it will look in ProjectWise first for one of those. Otherwise, you can hit the escape key and select some local microstation drawing as your seed file. Okay, that's really all I have on the ProjectWise integration portion here. It is really very much that simple. It's simply, like I said, a matter of turning it on, and for any of these, it basically enables ProjectWise to work with your open and save as, and the update server copy tools there. Allows you to work with your LEAP Bridge Concrete library, and allows you to have your seed files up there today as well. So a couple of other things I do want to point out while I'm here, and I'm going to go ahead and let me open up a browser window here and drag it over. So what I want to do, and actually I'm going to do this through the Connect Advisor. So if you have the Bentley Connection client on your computer, this is a really handy tool. I've gotten to the point where I use it pretty much every day. And the first thing I'm going to use it for here is applications. It'll let you know if any applications have been updated out there that you have on your computer, and if there are, it'll let you know that they're available to download and that sort of thing. But it also gives you a quick little shortcut to find other applications. So I'm going to click Find More here. And it just takes me straight to the window out there where I could look for every single Bentley product that's out there. And I'm just going to come in here and type in LEAP, and for example, I'll pick LEAP Bridge Concrete. And the reason I'm doing this is about 2 weeks ago, either from today or yesterday, I don't remember now, but right about 2 weeks ago on July 26th, there was a new version of LEAP Bridge Concrete posted. Okay, so I want to make everyone available that, or make everyone aware of that. There's a new LEAP Concrete. There was also a new LEAP Bridge Steel posted out there as well. So on or about the same date. So let me take a look here. So July 27th, there was also a new LEAP Bridge Steel posted out there for everyone to download. Now, if you want to know what's new in there, well, the primary new functionality, because each had a release come out about a month before that. Both of them had one come out in June, and now we have another one in July. And we don't typically do things, we're not typically quite that fast, but the major difference in both of them is that the Connect Advisor is now a native part of the software. It gets installed when you install the product, and so you have that Connect Advisor available to you directly from those two applications. If you're using Connect Advisor before, it would automatically integrate with our OpenBridge modeler software, but the analytical products, it didn't have any ties to at that time. But we've now gone out and made those products Connect Advisor aware, and it's able to work directly with those products. Now, for those of you that don't know or aren't familiar with the Connect Advisor, what this is a tool that basically goes out and it searches a lot of different websites for content about our, in this case, our various bridge products. And you can come in here and there are ways to kind of sort things here, display where the content is coming from, and even filter on this and narrow it down to a specific product, for example. So like I say, I just want to see things that deal with LEAP Bridge Concrete here initially. And so it'll show me what each of those items are. And actually right here at the top, which is the most recent one, if I select that, it'll go ahead and open a browser window and tell me what was added to this. And basically it's the major enhancement was the fact that the Connect Advisor is now part of the product, as well as a Connect Updater, which is that Connect client we saw a moment ago. It'll let you know the next time a new version of LEAP Bridge Concrete gets posted, you'll automatically know if you're running the Connect client. Now, there were a few other minor enhancements, and those are all in this PDF right here. So if we go ahead and open that up, point those out real quick. There was in the old ConSpan module, or basically the what we call the precast pre-stress girder module now, some incorrect live load reactions were being reported if you had a multi-span non-continuous setup. Excuse me. And then the beam stability check program wasn't working, and we got that back and working just fine. And then bearing sets in RC Pure kept getting duplicated. If folks would open that dialog, you can't really make any changes while you're there. All you can really do is look at it. But they would maybe hit the OK button as if they had made changes, and then it started duplicating bearing sets there. So we resolved those issues as part of that update. And then LEAP Steel had some similar. Had a similar update as well. Let's see if that shows up in the list here. Yeah, so here, oh no, that's an older one. So when it doesn't show up like that, the other place you can go find these things is, this is on what's called the Bentley Communities page. And typically on these blogs is where those things are being posted. Those updates and that. So here's one for LEAP Bridge Steel when the new version came out there at the end of June. So, you know, this is a good place to go looking for them. Now, how do you get here, you know, without any of that help? Well, there again, the connection client is very helpful in that. So if I go back to my connection client, I'm going to go up here to the top and just pick Connection Center. And this is your whole kind of enchilada in one. This is everything that allows you to get connected to Bentley and do various things. You can learn about different products and capabilities up here. You can see issue resolution and performance dashboards and other things here at the top. If you've had activity, you've reported problems in that, some of that may show up in here. But here's the B Communities part of it that I want to get to. So I'm going to jump in here and say, well, I just want to go to the B Communities page and see what's been updated on any of my products. And then from there, I typically go straight to here and pick a topic or a community. So I'll just pick the LEAP products here. And that's where we can see the wikis. And we're starting to add more and more content to the wikis. The forums and posts that folks are making out there on the forums with different questions they're asking and so forth. Those will show up here. And then we have the blogs from the various product managers. And they typically post things when they have an update to their products. They'll post those here in the blogs. So just to make everyone aware of all that new content. Now, likewise, if I go back here to the Connect Advisor, let me go back to LEAP Concrete. And actually here, let me pick something else. Let me pick OpenBridge Modeler. And it's just showing these for right now. We may have to get them tagged a little differently out there on YouTube, but myself and some of my colleagues have been working pretty hard here lately on, we've each kind of set some internal goals of posting at least a couple videos a week to YouTube. So it'll be freely available, short little how-to clips on various aspects of any of the bridge products. If it's something that I've been helping somebody with that day, and I think that would make a good little video out of it, I'll go back and I'll record a short little video and post that to YouTube. And like I said, we've just started on that in the last 2 to 3 weeks, but myself and about 3 other colleagues are working hard on posting at least a couple videos a week, if not more. So if there are specific tools, features, functionality that you would like to see us do a video on, let us know. Certainly it would help me to kind of know where to kind of focus my efforts. Most of what I've been doing here lately has been on the OpenBridge Modeler product, just because it's probably the newest one out there and people know the least about it, but are certainly probably about the most excited about it of any of our products. But I can certainly see a use for doing this with the steel and LEAP steel and concrete and RM and even large product for that matter. So if anyone has any suggestions on what they'd like to see, feel free to plop those into the chat window, because we capture all that information here as well. And if it's not something that I can create, it's certainly something that one of my colleagues can create as well. Now, one other thing I wanted to do, and I'll make this really quick, is I've got some slides here that I'm going to blow through really fast, but kind of going through what's new in the 2 different LEAP products here over the last few versions. So just to give everybody a background, we're on a release cycle of a new product or an update or a brand new version of the product being posted every 3 to 4 months. So 3 to 4 new versions per year of each of the products. And just to give you an idea, back in August we had a release of LEAP Bridge Concrete, and that's the one where we went in and consolidated the library into a single file. We actually created and put in the integration with LEAP Bridge Concrete and ProjectWise at that time, so it's actually been in the product for a year now. And then we did some other detailed design reports, and we had two-way connection to OpenBridge Modeler and so forth. But this is kind of where I was talking about. There's our LEAP Bridge Concrete and ProjectWise capabilities. Now, for those of you that have been using the substructure module for a long time, or it's formerly called RCPIR. You may or may not know about some detailed design reports, but they are out there. If you go to File Print, in that module, there's an extra little button to the side where you can pick detailed design reports. And it's going to give you some reports like you see here in this window here on the right, where it's going to show you the article out of the code, the equations that were used, what are we checking for, what was the controlling load combination, what is the code check that we're doing here at this time, what was the equation that was used, what values were put in the equation, what were the units, and then at the bottom, did it pass or fail, yes or no, that sort of thing. So there's a whole host of checks that we're doing on the caps, the columns, and the footings for you today in that respect. So, and then in December we had another new version, and at that point we added another pretty major feature in my book, is the fact that we now support the most two recent versions of the LRFD code. We never had an easy way for you to go back and forth between the current version and, let's say, the previous one if you're working on an older project, or maybe you're bouncing back and forth between a newer one and an older one. So now you have that option in all the different modules, whether it's the precast girder module, the cast in place, or substructure module. You can pick from the latest two LRFD versions of the code, as well as, of course, LFD is still there as well. So, and then it was also updated at that point to LRFD 16 with the 2016 interims, and then for wind load generation, that was completely redone for the 2016 interims because there were quite a few substantial changes there that were made to that tool, and then also well, I guess primarily just wind loads. So, and then with version 17 that was released here in June, the major enhancement in that was a response spectrum analysis was added at that point for seismic. So again, you would have to tell it you want to use the latest version of the software or the latest edition of the code checks, but it can now do response spectrum analysis via our STAD Pro software. So it's behind the scenes installing enough of the STAD product to be able to do what we need to be able to do in order to perform a response spectrum analysis. And then some minor updates to the product were in there as well. So in that RSA analysis that we do create a full grillage model of the bridge and pass that on. And there were actually updates to the superstructure module as well to tell the software what parts of the superstructure and what loads to be included in that overall mass for the RSA analysis. Now on the LEAP steel side, I know this is a little bit of a departure from today's topic as well, but had some very significant releases to it here recently. But I do want to point out this is basically LEAP for steel bridges. Do straighter curved bridges, standard rolled shapes, welded eye girders, and tub girders are now in there as well. Again, it's been brought up to date as far as the latest edition of the LRFD code with the 2016 interims, and based on the latest edition of the AASHTO manual, because we can do rating in here as well of these steel bridges. It does have some automated plate generation in there for you based on the initial girder configuration as far as the span lengths and the girder spacing. It will come up with an initial web thickness, a depth to the web, and then flange thickness and widths as well. And it will suggest some sizes there. You can override those sizes or use what it suggests and then go from there. And it makes a pretty good educated guess based on the some of the ratios that are in the AASHTO spec to get you started there. And then we added optimization as well. So in the December version of the software, we added optimization of those same webs and top and bottom flanges. So everything is very interrelated in there, and you make a change to one thing, it may affect others. So it is a bit of an iterative process there, but it does greatly speed up that iterative process as well. So here's where we go in and define those members, and you can define things like maximum thickness and that in here, and it will honor some of those values when it goes to do the optimization. So when it comes to doing the optimization in here, it's going to start with the input web thickness that you give it, and then it'll increase that thickness until either an unstiffened web works fine, or we reach whatever the maximum web thickness is, and at that point then it starts adding stiffeners based on these equations right here to figure out what we need in there for that. So you can come up here until you want to do an optimization. It'll generate a diagram here in this elevation view of the girder that you can zoom in and take a look at, but there's a report as well that you can look at for the web and top and bottom flanges. And these will show you the depth that was required at certain locations versus what was input, and then let you either accept those suggested changes, or you can make other changes on your own. And then maximum flange sizes work much the same way. It's going to come up with and say, okay, here's the area that was input for a particular flange, in this case a top flange. Here's the area required to satisfy it based on the most current analysis at each of these given checkpoints. And then if you use auto design, it will go ahead and put those values into the table here. Otherwise, you could come down into the table and just simply input your own value that would meet that minimum required area based on that optimization run. So, and we've had some very detailed analysis and design reports in here for quite a while as well. So these will show you where you have problems at. So if you go to the under design report, it'll let you know where the issues are, what the control point is, or what the POI is, what the article is out of the equation. And if you go look at that specific report, you'll see exactly, again, the article out of the code, the equation used, the values put into it, and what it failed by. And in this case, these failures were related to the fact that I removed a couple of cross frames on purpose just to kind of force a failure on the structure there. Field splices were added in there as well, I believe in the December release. And then in the June release of the software, two major enhancements there. We always had line girder and grillage analysis in there. And in the June-July release, we added a 3D finite element in there as well. So again, StatPro is doing all the work for us. We're just sending the structure over to it and letting it run the FEM analysis for us. And then we added tub girders in there as well. So we can do analysis and a complete host of code checks, just like we do on the eye girders, we can do on those tub girders as well. So
if you found this video helpful, please give it a like. If you want to see more such series, consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you, and see you next time.